I want to know, I don't know if you're familiar with RFK and he's wanting to go on this mission to kind of go to the source of autism, find out what the root cause is. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, listen to you, girl. You're going there.
Hi, friends. It's Brittany Valadez here for bravelydaily.com. So I just want to let you guys know it's Holy Week. I am on vacation, so you're going to notice a different background and may hear some other sounds, but that's not the important part of this interview. So during my time, I had the chance to interview Scott Lorette. Yes, he is the man behind the real life story of the Unbreakable Boy. He's the father in the film. And so we got talking about autism. And yes, he talked about what it was like when he first heard that his son had autism, about his faith journey, and also he gave his thoughts on RFK and his search for the root of autism. All right, before we get into this interview, make sure you guys subscribe here if you haven't. Make sure to follow me on social media. I will put all of that in the description box below. And if you have any comments or questions, put that in the comment section below. All right, let's get into this interview. Give us a quick summary of what the film is about for those who haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's a memoir, so it's my life story, actually. It's a love story, but I used to say that it was a story about this autistic kid that's broken almost every bone in his body. He's had his heart removed, repaired, and replaced. He's got an addict father, a suicidal mother, a near perfect younger brother. It's a story of faith. It's dark. It's hilarious. It's inspiring. And I said that for the longest time. It's kind of like my elevator pitch. But my movie producing partner, Peter Facinelli, my dear friend, started saying early on, that's not your story. That's all in there, but it's just a piece of it all. It's a story about this broken, flawed, messed up family that, you've got marriage, parenting, special needs, suicide, addiction. You got all these different elements that make up this story that it's actually pretty complex, even though it's a very simple film. So I think that's one of the reasons why so many different types of people can relate to it. And it's also one of the challenges when I'm speaking is I have to have them narrow it down for me where they want to go with it because I can talk on so many different things. But it obviously kind of takes place on a really bad night in my life, the last night of my behavior changed, and I've been sober almost 19 years. But it's just been that journey, refinding faith and gaining back my life, and but it's still continuing every day because we're as broken today as we were yesterday or 10 years ago.
Tell us about, your refining, like finding your faith again. How you did you feel that you believed in God, but he was kind of off to the side, and then when you hit rock bottom, something changed. What was your faith journey like?
Well, when I left for college, it was just gone.
Mhm.
I think that happens so often with teenagers. It happened to me. So I went a long time with, I always, yeah, and I'm sure you've heard this. I always knew, oh, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but that's
Yeah.
about as far as it went for many years, over a decade. And when all this happened, when I met my wife, when I met this girl, it just began, and it was this, and we got pregnant, and I don't know, I just knew, even though I was not really on the train yet, I wasn't back on my faith train, but I knew I'll give this to my mother because it's the way she raised me. I was not going to be the father that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I was going to be part of whatever it was. And I'm glad I did because Teresa and I, in the end, ended up liking each other, at least a little bit. And
Plus in marriage.
yeah, so it took, it was a slow process, but the greater my sobriety became, the easier it was me to kind of take the blinders off my eyes and see what I was missing and see where my faith was. And sometimes you have to have it forced upon you, and sometimes from some pretty crazy ways and means. Meaning my wife always telling me to let go, when I was doubting myself, and even my partner Peter just telling me, hey, the world's got it. The world's got it. It's going to change the world. It's going to change lives. And I never could really embrace that initially, but and then it continues to evolve because I'm still as broken today as I was yesterday.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the verse that where Paul talks about how God's grace is made perfect in our weakness. And it's scripture also, when we are weak, he is strong. And that's when God can use us the most because he shines the most because he's like, look, I am God. You need me, whether or not you think you do. I've been here all along. Are you going to draw near to me as I draw near to you? Now, let's talk about your son in the film and in his the real life story. Now, I have a question. We know that it gives the film is from your perspective as a father and the struggles that you are going through and your faith journey, and then your son is diagnosed with autism. Now, what advice would you give to other parents who can relate to you and say, "Hey, that's me on the screen when I got the news," or for parents who will get the news that their child has autism?
It You have to become the advocate for your child. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. No one else is going to advocate for you. It's just a fact. And it could be something as simple as learning what an IEP is, because some folks don't even know that. It's shocking to me sometimes when I talk to some parents that are struggling, and we do too. So we're still plugging away and struggling and with services because services are so difficult. But I think the most important thing though is that you've got to be your own number one, looking out for your number one, which is that child. And you've got to be your own advocate because again, I'll say it countless times, no one's going to advocate for you,
Yeah,
for your child. And you have to do that. And you have to do it proactively and aggressively. And sometimes it means um, not knocking some heads around. That doesn't sound nice, but maybe breaking some dishes, in the process because um, people don't like change, and sometimes people might not like accommodations and things like that. It's crazy. But when it comes to your child, though, you've got to do everything possible to advocate for them.
absolutely. I 100% agree. And I know parents who are going through this journey alongside you and who understand would say the same thing. Now, speaking of change, I want to know, I don't know if you're familiar with RFK and he's wanting to go on this mission to kind of go to the source of autism, find out what the root cause is. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, listen to you, girl. You're going there. I love it. Now, it's fascinating question simply because I now have gotten to know Zach so well, and I love that Zach plays me. He's an awesome human being, and he's
Mhm.
taken some grief as well for some of these things. And look at Bobby Kennedy and this and that. But here's the deal. Can I say that autism was caused by vaccines in my son Austin? I don't know. Um, I think that I think that any person can be sensitive to any given thing. So, could vaccines cause some type of autism in some people? Sure. I mean, I'm not going to discount that and say no. Well, who am I to say no? I think that there are a lot of things to consider from our environmental to diagnostic to, and it's more than just increased diagnostics. It's more than just improved diagnostics. I think it's pretty multi-complex. There was an article that just came out today, a very comprehensive, well-respected article, and I'm blanking out on it, on ADHD and ADD, saying that it's absolutely a function of brain chemistry, and which for the longest time they didn't know what caused this or how stimulants work, for example. I don't want to get in the weeds, but in terms of vaccines, I I don't think there's anything wrong with finding out what's going on. I have a doctor friend of mine, his son is a PhD at Arizona State. They're working on a test to determine autism. It's a urine
Mhm.
test actually. But I'm not blind to know what some of those things can do. And just
Yeah.
like some of these other genetic tests, do they become, are they used for nefarious purposes? I say nefarious, but can it be to where a parent or would-be parent would choose to do something based on what they find out about their potential child? To me, that's scary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation. But in terms of vaccines, though, I don't know. I just don't know. Um, there was a specific time that Austin's autism kind of kicked in.
Mhm.
And there are some things at that time that we felt were present that happened. And so I haven't really gone down that road too much publicly, but you know, I'm now an ambassador for Autism Speaks. I'm one of their, it's called Team 20 with other I'm not an activist, but advocates, celebrities, and sports figures. And they're focusing this year on increasing the life expectancy of autistics and really working on services and better quality of life as well as living services, and we want that for our son to be able to live on his own independently. So those are things that I really want to work on, but that's a tough question. I mean, kudos to you for asking it. I know I didn't solve the world, the problem there, but with my answer, but
No, I think that you would have the answer that many people would have. I would hope we can find, I don't know. And that's why they're searching. I don't know. And so I
well,
have
if
two final
if I
questions.
could add just one last thing though, regarding that though, I think that it's worthwhile today, though, for people to question
Yeah.
because there are so many things. My family, my wife, we have just started getting into going low sugar, low dyes, low this, low that, because we've absolutely seen a difference in Austin with a low sugar diet. So why not with medicine too? Why not with vaccines too? We vaccinated all our kids, but I think that there's definitely room to open our eyes a little bit more in that regard.
I agree. 100%. I was actually speaking with a doctor the other day, and here in Honduras, he gave very simple advice: sugar, cut it out. For so many diseases are caused by sugar. And I like it because they have a more holistic approach here in Honduras than they would in the US. And I'm like, that is true. Some of the things that sugar seems so pretty in cupcakes and cakes, but then
Mhm.
how it affects people with all sorts of diseases or illnesses. I mean, anything that we can do to change on our end that we can change, I think we should. Now, obviously, we don't have the answer to everything, but it's like we do need to be informed. And I like the fact that you mentioned always ask questions. And I teach kids when it comes to Christianity, don't ever blindly believe. If it is true, the truth will be out. Always question everything. I love how in the film you had your perspective and point of view, and then we also saw it from your son's point of view. I think in the film when he was talking about my dad doesn't see me or he sees me now, were those from something like you made up in your head, or were those conversations that you had with your son to say, how are you seeing me in this moment, or what did you perceive?
Well, I didn't quite understand what's going on, and I was the typical guy that was in that denial that how could anything be wrong with my firstborn son? And there is nothing wrong with him, but I just felt, how could this be happening? So no, I didn't see him, and yeah, he early on especially, and that was one of the most profound moments. I'll tell you though, as an off tangent here, but the most profound moment in the film for me was when Austin was counting the airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
and when he looked up at the pom pom on his hat, and he stared at the pom pom. Don't ask me why, but that moment right there always gets me, and it's my story. You know, that moment always gets me. But I think for most people, besides the Easter basket or the scene, the scene where Austin says that, see that right there? He saw me for just a moment. It's pretty profound, and I think that's hey man, that's life. Um, it's growing and learning, and I'll tell you though that my favorite scripture, and I'm into glasses. I love glasses, and the other pair of Ray-Bans I have. Um, on the bow, Ray-Ban will let you inscribe things. And it's got my favorite scripture on there that my mom gave me a watercolor of a marathon runner, and it was 2 Timothy 4:7. You know, I fought the good fight, I stayed the course, and I finished the race. And it's so ironic how that all works though, because to me, it's perfect for the last 30 years of my life.
Mm.
It is so perfect, and just staying the course no matter what.
Absolutely. What a beautiful verse. I love it. Scott, I thank you so much for chatting with me today. I
You're welcome.
definitely enjoyed our conversation, and I know our audience is going to enjoy it as well. And everybody, if you're watching this, well, obviously you're watching this now because I'm talking to you. Make sure you see Unbreakable Boy out now. All right, friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this chat. I really love talking to Scott and hearing his story and his honesty. It was so moving. And if you haven't had the chance, make sure to check out Unbreakable Boy that you can see anywhere. It's out now for you guys to watch at home. So it's not in theaters anymore. It's out now for you guys to own. And again, if you have any comments or you want to share your own personal stories, make sure to put them in the comment section below. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. And also follow me on social media. It's pretty much just at Brittany Valadez everywhere except for TikTok and something else. All right. Hope you guys have a blessed day. And until next time, I'm Brittany Valadez for BravelyDaily.com. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.